Alright, let's see if I remember how to do this. Try that again. Hey there, it's Cherie, and today we're going to talk about these 11 books I just needed. Needed might be a strong word, but I like it. It's a book haul. Let's do this. I have a few book of the month picks I've added in the last few months. The first one is Romantic Comedy by Kurt Sittenfeld. Now, I've read this one and quite enjoyed it. It follows Sally, who is a sketch writer on The Night Owls, a live late night comedy show that airs on Saturday, like SNL, pretty much SNL. So her friend and fellow sketch writer ends up dating an actress and they get engaged in a short amount of time. Now, Sally notices that her friend has become a member of a not so exclusive group of talented and average men who have gotten involved with beautiful and successful women. And she doesn't believe that the reverse would ever happen for women. But enter Noah Brewster, a pop star and someone who has come in to guest host The Night Owls. And he seems to have quite a bit of interest in Sally. Next we have Advika and the Hollywood Wives by Kirthana Ramazetti. So this tells the story of a marriage set in the dark glamour of Hollywood. We have Advika, who considers herself to be a failed screenwriter at the age of 26, which I feel like is a little young, just maybe a little young to feel like a failure. She's bartending at the Governor's Ball, which is the official after party for the Oscars. And there she ends up meeting Julian Zelding, who is a legendary film producer fresh off of his Best Picture win. They have a 41-year age gap, but Evita doesn't care. She ends up falling madly in love with him, and a courtship begins as well as an elopement. About a month into their marriage, his first wife ends up dying, and in her will, she decides to leave something for Julian's latest child bride, but only on one condition. That child bride must divorce Julian first. Advika starts to realize that she doesn't really know Julian that well. I mean, they did get married rather quickly, and maybe the marriage was even rushed for all the wrong reasons. So Advika needs to figure out what she's going to do next. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I've seen quite a few people talk about this book, and it was the Book of the Year for 2022 for Book of the Month. So I thought I'd pick it up. So this story follows two friends in the world of game design. I believe the story starts when they're in college and then it spans another 30 years. They end up being launched into stardom in their 20s. They're brilliant and they become successful and rich, but that doesn't stop them from having to deal with their own ambitions and betrayals. Mama by Jessica George. We follow Maddie, who is the primary caretaker for her father since her mother spends a lot of time in Ghana. Maddie is not a big fan of her boss and I believe her job. And when her mother finally returns home, she leaves with a chance to get out while she still can. She decides she wants to start living and experience some important firsts. But tragedy ends up striking and she has to come to terms with her unconventional family and deal with putting her heart on the line. Meet Me by the Lake by Carly Fortune. Target made me buy this. Well, I did find myself in the book section at Target, so I just had to pick it up when I saw it. We follow Fern Brookbanks, who is back home running her mother's lake resort. It is a mess. Her ex-boyfriend is the manager, and Fern has no idea where to begin. Years before, she had a chance meeting with a guy named Will. The timing was wrong for them, and they made a pact to meet in a year. Fern showed up, Will did not. Now Will has shown up, and he seems ready to help. Now Fern wonders if he's trustworthy, since he seems not quite like the guy she met years before. Also, he could be hiding something. The Blood Gift by Annie Davenport. This is a sequel to The Blood Trials, which was my favorite read in 2022. It's also adult science fiction with some fantasy elements to it. It continues the story with Akina, who has to deal with bounty hunters, her former comrades, as well as a demigod. She's trying to save her friends, as well as her enemies, with the oppression they've all had to deal with, and continues to threaten the continent from all sides. I'm trying not to give too many spoilers from the first book. I do highly recommend it. And if you want, I can do a book talk on it. Just let me know. Unwind by Neil Schusterman. I haven't read this series yet. I did read the Arc of a Scythe series by this author, and I really did enjoy it. So I figured I should pick this book up as well. It's a young adult dystopian, one of the many young adult dystopians I've realized I have not read yet. And in this society, children between the ages of 13 and 18 can be unwound if their parents so choose. If the parent does decide, the child's organs are transplanted into someone else. So it's like they aren't dead. We have Connor, who seems too difficult for his parents to control, Risa, who is not talented enough to be kept alive, and Lev, who was conceived and raised to be unwound. I believe they tried to escape, and we see what happens after that. Matched by Ellie Condi. Ellie? Matched by Ellie Condi. The deluxe edition. And another YA dystopian. In this society, the officials decide where you work, who you love, and when you die. We have Cassia, who has always trusted the society's choices. And when her best friend shows up on the matching screen for her, she's just certain he's the one. But then another face shows up and then the screen goes blank, which confuses her. Now she has to decide between the only life she's ever known and a path no one ever follows. The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Delilah Harris. I believe this one is a thriller, and it's set in the New York City publishing world. Two young black women meet while working at Wagner Books, and they hit it off. But when one gets elevated over the other, and the other one starts to receive harassing notes, things get weird. It was named one of the best books of the year by Time, The Washington Post, Esquire, Vogue, Entertainment Weekly, The Boston Globe, Harper's Bazaar, Crime Reads, Amazon, and NPR. So a lot of people seem to have liked this book. My Year of Relaxation by Ottessa Moshfegh. This book is set in the year 2000. We follow a young woman who is a recent Columbia graduate. She works at an art gallery and lives in an apartment on the Upper East Side, which was paid by her inheritance. We end up following her efforts to ignore the wills of the world, and she ends up embarking on an extended hibernation with the help of one of the worst psychiatrists in literature and the battery of medicine she prescribes. Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. A memoir. I really don't read that many memoirs, but I do want to change that. This book follows a young woman who moves back home to be with her mother through her final months of battling cancer. She was working as a waitress and struggling to launch her music career in Philadelphia before she gets the call to come back home to Eugene, Oregon to be with her mother. It discusses family, food, love, and growing up Korean American. So those are the 11 books I just needed to add to my bookshelf. Let me know down below what books you've just needed to add, or if any of them match any of the ones I added. We could be twins. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys again next week. Bye.